Another blended whiskey from Discovery Series. Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery 8 is here. There's a lot going on in this one in terms of the blend of mash bills, and a new twist in this one, finishing staves. You know, think about it very much like the Maker's Mark Private Selects, what they do with the mix of staves. This is a wild one. Let's break it down. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C from the Mash and Drum, and welcome to the show. Before we dive into the review, let's hear about today's game changer of a sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Zibiotics. All right, guys, today's sponsor is one of those products that come along that you just can't wait to tell people about, and that is Zibiotics, a product I've been using behind the scenes before my Wednesday night live streams, where I will usually drink a good amount of whiskey. So what is it? Zibiotics is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol, which is most responsible for rough mornings after drinking. We've all been there. When you drink, a toxic byproduct of alcohol builds up in your belly. It's that byproduct, not dehydration, that causes you to feel kind of terrible the day after drinking. Zibiotics produces an enzyme like the one your liver uses to break down this byproduct. So not too long ago, I did 6 different Elijah Craig barrel-proof whiskeys blind on a live stream. In preparation for not feeling like crap the next morning, I took Zibiotics, and it was a game changer. Felt great, and I've been using this stuff ever since. I honestly couldn't believe how effective it was and how different and upbeat I felt the next morning after live streams. I also started using this little bottle of magic after barrel picks, as well after sipping through a bunch of samples. All you do is drink one of these about an hour before you start sipping, and that's it. Since then, post live streams, I feel amazing. Post barrel picks, amazing. You should still drink water like you normally do, but Zibiotics makes it that much easier to feel better the next day. This also helps me get back into the gym early the next day, which is a huge bonus for me as well. No random plant extracts, no off-the-shelf ingredients, 100% money-back guarantee, no sugar added, all natural. So how do you get it? You can get Zibiotics for 15% off with my code below. I recommend getting the 6-pack, which is what I got, so you got a good amount. They also have a 3-pack and a 12-pack just to try it. It's a great deal. You'll have a couple extra to share with your friends if you want. So click the link in the description box and use code MASHANDDRUM at checkout, or go to zibiotics.com/mashanddrum and get 15% off your first order. Cheers to Zibiotics and this product. Honestly, one of the best products that has sponsored the Mash and Drum. Absolutely love this stuff. Now go order some, and thanks for making this happen to all you viewers. Thank you. So the Discovery Series from Bardstown Bourbon Company was built to explore all the ways you can take whiskey in new directions through blending, pushing the boundaries of what's been done before. Now, each of these are limited releases and continue to really be truly singular in nature. Every single one has been different from 1 all the way through 8. Each has its own, type of flavor profile, its own DNA. The Discovery 8, maybe even more so. Take a closer look. So Discovery 8, which Bardstown Bourbon Company called the most complex release to date, is a blend of Kentucky bourbons, 2 Indiana rye whiskeys, and an aged Canadian whiskey. It is the most rye-forward release of the Discovery Series to date. So here's the breakdown of the blend, as you guys can kind of see the graphic there. 66% of a 12-year Kentucky bourbon, 17% of that 7-year rye whiskey. This is a low rye, only 51% rye in the mash bill. 11% of that 12-year Ontario Canadian corn whiskey, and to round it out, 6% of that high rye, the old 95.5 6-year Indiana rye whiskey. So here's the kicker on this one. You wouldn't really know that this has a stave finish unless you kind of read the fine print on this side of the bottle. There is a QR code, which I'm going to scan it now. So as you can see, the QR code takes you to a page where you could see once they had that Kentucky bourbon, 2 Indiana rye whiskeys, and Canadian whiskey all blended. The final batch was then matured with a custom selection of oak staves with flavor profiles that range from the French toast to the Rioja barrels, according to the distillery. Just saying, at this point now, with the Bardstown Bourbon Company blends, with how complicated they're getting and what they're doing, I'm just gonna always look for that QR code just in case. All right, Discovery 8 is bottled at 114.1 proof. It's available at the distillery and across 20 US markets. Suggested retail of 140 bucks. Let's dive into this one. Here we go. I could tell you there's a lot going on in this one. From my first pour, it's already changed a bunch, but let's dive in and see what I pick up today on this one. I specifically get a Cherry Luden's cough drop on this. It's not overly medicinal, but I definitely get like that Cherry Luden, like you open up that little Cherry Luden's cough drop package and you smell it. That's coming out of here. But also what you get is oak and you get spice. There's a lot of oak coming through here. And it's weird when you could say you could smell how much spice is on here, but there's a lot of spice going on. I think the stave profiles really just, yeah, brought this to a very, very spicy forefront. There's almost like a cayenne pepper thing going on in this one too. But don't get me wrong, it's very sweet. Along with that cherry, a little bit of maple syrup here, maybe slight hint of chocolate. I do get a lot of sweetness though, I think, from that Canadian whiskey too, from that 12-year-old corn whiskey. There is like a candy corn aspect to it, but all underneath like that layer of just spice and oak, like rich, sweet oak. Yeah, the nose really kind of takes you in a lot of different directions. All right, cheers, here we go. I'm trying to process all this right now. Because once you go back to, every time I've gone back to this whiskey, it changes. But two things remain consistent, always. Always. How spicy it is. When they said this is probably the spiciest and most rye-driven blend that they've done, spot on. I don't remember any of the discoveries having this much of a spiciness to it. And then on top of that, you have oak, sweet oak tannin. It doesn't dry you out though. Sometimes you kind of get those oak tannins. You get all the different stave profiles. You might be thinking it's going to dry your palate out. This one does not, but it's a lot to break through that spice in order to get some flavor notes here. Let's go another sip. All right, second sip. Once the palate acclimates to all that spiciness, I feel like you get anywhere of some of the different oak undertones from that stave profile. I feel like there's that cherry aspect to it, but there's also a very sweet, almost like a baker's chocolate aspect to it as well. That candy corn note is kind of mashed in the middle of everything, but the oak and the spice is really kind of the star of the show. This is going to be one of those like Frankenstein whiskeys that I think, depending on your palate, you're going to be able to pick up any number of things. Because every time I go back to this, I get something different. So that sip was like spicy caramel, like spicy burnt caramel. But again, the oak kind of overlays it. It is oaky, it is sweet, more oaky than sweet, and the spice is still there. Every time you go back and you taste it, you're kind of wondering when that spice is going to maybe dissipate a little bit, but it does not. And I love spicy whiskey, so this is like right up my alley. Now, the only thing that I'll say is quite different than any other Discovery series I've had is the fact that most of the Discovery series are very straightforward. I don't want to say straightforward. They are pretty complex, but they're velvety. And it's almost like a little bit what you would expect from, you know, just a great blended whiskey. Whereas this kind of takes you in a lot of different directions. I think if they were going for complexity, I think they nailed it, because there's a lot going on in this. And like I said, I think depending on your palate, any one of you can pick up something different in this, just because not only of the crazy mash bill, but all the staves that they used. It's such a crazy whiskey. This whiskey, now on that sip, actually came in a lot more. It just, I don't know, it just delivered a little bit easier, and I was able to taste more of the cherry. Now it became more of a cherry pie, I mean, a little pastry in there. That baker's chocolate, I still think is there a little bit. But man, one thing it is not losing is the spice and the oak. It's all over this. Again, on the last sip here, guys, the things that remain current, the things that everybody I think will pick up, that you cannot deny, is the spice and how forward the oak presence is on this, all because of those different types of staves that they used. I think underlying all that, you have some cherry, you have some dark fruit. I think there's a little bit of a bright fruit note in there too. I'm almost picking up like a grape note, which is interesting, right on the mid palate. That could be from one of the finishing staves. And then as it finishes out, you just get more of the spice, a little bit more of the chocolate. That baker's chocolate is still there. It's not overly dry, and the finish lasts for days. This thing is just, it's almost effervescent on the back of the palate. Discovery 8, this is a spicy meatball. Let's break it down. All right, guys, final breakdown on Discovery 8, the Ocho. Here we go. Price, $140 for this one. Secondary market value. You don't really see these too often on secondary. I mean, if I do see it upcharge, it's usually around anywhere from 180 to 200. Availability on this one, I think, is actually, I used to say average. I'm gonna say it's good now. Because I'm only gonna say it's good because not only can you get it at the distillery, but it's in 20 US markets, so 20 different states. And for whatever reason, these tend to stay around on shelves. You know, talking to, you know, a few folks on my live stream, actually just this past Wednesday, you know, folks were saying that the Discovery series still hangs out on shelves. So if you're looking for it, and if you go to a state that has it, most likely you're probably going to be able to find one of these. All right, so value for this one is a little bit tricky because I think if you were just to walk in a liquor store and see this bottle, and you're looking at the blend, you see a 12-year-old Kentucky, you know, bourbon in here, check. You see 2 high-aged MGP at cask strength, check. 7 6-year-old. Then you see that 12-year Canadian corn whiskey. You're like, I'm not sure if I want to pay $140 for that. The problem is what you don't see is on the side is the list of stave finishes that are involved in making this whiskey, which I think obviously factors into the price of this one. So if you're not looking for it and you don't see it, I could see people maybe, you know, hedging on this one. But I could tell you that, you know, finishes always add a little bit more cost to a bottle. So I'm gonna say the value for this one is even. How much would I pay for this one? I mean, this is an easy answer. This one is just, you know, retail. There's some really unique, you know, flavors in this one. Is it blowing me away? No. But is it a really interesting blend and a really just a great evolution of what Bardstown Bourbon Company is going for? Yes, and I think that's worth paying retail for it. Is it a recommend? Man, this is tough. I think with the amount of different palates these days, and especially palates gearing towards a sweeter profile, I don't know if this would be for everybody because it's so spicy and it's so oak forward. Not a lot of people like that these days. Everyone's looking for an easy sipping finish or something that's sweeter. So I'll say this, for me, yes. But if because I love spicy and I love a good amount of sweet oak, and I like the fact that they played with some different flavor profiles. But if you're not into that, if you're not into spicy and oaky, this is probably more of a try before you buy. I think most people will end up liking this one, but I just think for the collective bourbon community and the way palates are going these days, or how I see trends, this one I don't think is a full home run, but for me, I'm loving it. I can't wait to put it against some other whiskeys that I love in 2022 and see how it does. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching this review on the new Bardstown Discovery 8. Crazy Frankensteinish bottle. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. Let me know down in the comments if you've been able to taste this one, if you've tried it yet. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you next time right here on The Master Drum. Take care, folks.